Okay, today I'm going to talk about phonological processes. This is my first video on this YouTube channel about phonological processes, and the process that I'm going to talk about today is cluster reduction. So before I get to what cluster reduction is, I want to just do a quick explanation of what is a phonological process. And a phonological process is a pattern of speech, and it's a typical pattern as kids are young and developing their speech up until about 3 years old. These are typical patterns, and they're simplified patterns of speech. So of course, all little kids are developing their speech and they sound younger, and their speech patterns are more simple than an adult speech. And those are common patterns up until the age of 3. And the phonological process occurs when those patterns and simplifications persist past typical development. Usually around 3 or 4, those patterns and simplifications should diminish. So one of those patterns is called cluster reduction. And cluster reduction is taking a consonant blend, 2 consonants together, and simplifying it. So either taking away one of the consonants and omitting one of the consonants, or omitting both of the consonants. So for example, for the word stop, that ST in the beginning of the word might be simplified to top. So they might say top, top, top for stop, stop, stop. Or for slide, that consonant cluster in the beginning, SL, might be omitted altogether, and they might say I'd. Go down the I'd, go down the I'd, instead of go down the slide. So those are just a few examples of cluster reduction. And as I said, this is a typical process, the typical simplification of speech. And it is typical to persist until about 3 years old. But if it persists past 3, then that's when the correction should be made. So one thing that we do is to correct that is just really teaching them the understanding that 2 sounds can go together, and that we need to say both sounds together. So I use a lot of auditory bombardment, or showing them, or having them listen. And then I also use a lot of visuals. So for the example of stop, if they're saying top, I might say, oh, I hear st-op. You're saying top. Let's hear st-op. And so showing them visually that there's 2 sounds, and then helping them to say it and hear it, so that they can really distinguish and understand that there's 2 sounds that need to happen. So that's one trick for teaching it, but that is just a quick explanation of the phonological process, cluster reduction.